Edgelord Star Wars. Yeah, this is always going to be bad. So, Netflix's Rebel Moon, or Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, hit Netflix about 2 weeks ago when I finally got around to seeing it. Now, I do not like Zack Snyder's other work. Obviously, I've made plenty of videos trashing his films, whether you want to look at his DC films or Army of the Dead that came out 2 years ago. Well, almost 3 at this point. I hated the hell out of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Watchmen. I haven't seen 300 in years, so I don't really remember what I thought of that. And his Owls of Ga'Hoole, or whatever the fuck it was called, was crap as well. So I knew going in that this was going to be bad. I also knew going in that this was going to be boring. 2 hours and 15 minutes of virtually nothing. So the basic story is that a girl in a village who is basically taken over by the Empire sets off to find warriors to help fight back for her colony. And I'm just realizing this now that this movie also ripped off A Bug's Life. Who'da thunk? So, yeah, this is obviously bad. There's nothing really that great in this movie. So I'll start off with the biggest problem, like I said, is that it's boring as hell. And pacing? What's that? Because this movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes and could have been half that. This did not need to be a two-parter. This could have been one movie, because this movie doesn't understand pacing. It's so fucking slow, and not much is accomplished, at least none that could be done in half the time. And that wouldn't be as big of a problem if the characters were interesting. But none of them are. The main character is just the strong female lead. That's it. She has no personality outside of that. None of the other characters have much of a personality, and none of the acting's that great either, though I can't really blame them, because they have some talented actors in this movie, but they're given a shitty script and poor direction, so I can't really blame them for crappy performances. And then there's just some things that are just there to pad out the running time, like there's an insanely long flashback telling the main character's backstory, and this flashback goes on for approximately 38.5 minutes. Or maybe it just felt like it. Lame jokes aside, this probably did go on for about 10 minutes of the movie, and again, it could have been accomplished in half that, and I know a lot of people are going to say is like, oh, it's also padded out with slow motion, and you'd be absolutely right. And the funniest thing about that is that the slow-mo sequences in this movie are terrible. They are just randomly placed in certain shots because it's a Snyder movie. He's like, oh, I need slow-mo, because slow-mo automatically makes a shot cool, right? No, in fact, the slow-mo makes a lot of shots look even worse. Like, there's even a scene during a bar fight where she, like, knocks somebody out, and the slow-mo shot is literally just the dude falling backwards and breaking a table underneath him. It's not cool, and it looked kind of ridiculous. And then there's, again, just during the action sequences, they're pretty much all in slow motion. This is as bad as Boondock Saints 2, except I'd probably rather watch Boondock Saints 2, because there are some hilariously bad moments in that one, and this movie's just dull. And yeah, it has the other typical Snyderisms where where the colors are muted out as all hell, and I get it's supposed to be basically the galactic apocalypse almost, kind of, but there's a way to do that right too. Star Wars had a ton of color to it, and that was, again, basically the same story as this. And their ripoffs of Star Wars have absolutely no subtlety whatsoever. In fact, the villains show up and throughout the entire movie wearing fucking Nazi hats. Again, subtlety be damned. Near the end of the movie, they blow up a planet because they've supported the rebellion, just like Alderaan. And there's even something called hyper launch. Really? That's the best you could come up with? And then Charlie Hunnam's character is basically a poor man's Han Solo. But I will say this did lead to one subversion of that character, because he makes the big speech about, oh, he's learned that he wants to fight with the good guys, and then he betrays them at the end, and then doesn't, like, decide to fight with them at the end anyway. He just gets straight up killed, so I will say that was fine. But all of the dialogue in this movie is awful. There's a monologue given by Sofia Boutella's character early on in the movie, and it's some of the most cringe-inducing dialogue I've ever heard in my life. The CGI looks pretty bad, and that's one of the things people like to praise about Snyder films, is that the effects usually look pretty good. They look really bad here, and I know Netflix is kind of notorious for bad CGI, but this looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Percy Jackson Disney Plus level bad CGI. Especially when it came to some bird creature that a guy was taming, it was 100% artificial, not for a single second I think it was there. And again, there's just more shit that pats out the running time. Like, for some reason, we waste 5 minutes watching some cybernetic chick fight a spider creature. And it's not even like a full spider, it's like half alien, half spider. It's weird, and this fight could... One, you could have cut this fight down, and, well, two, you could have cut it out entirely. I get the point is that it's supposed to show off this person's skills, but you could have done that more organically than wasting time fighting some stupid spider creature that never shows up again, because, you know, it dies. And, wow, is that really all I had on my notes? But that's all I have on my notes, because that's all, like, the big things about it. But like I said, this movie is just so boring. The pacing is awful. It's so slow, and the acting is not good. I already mentioned this. And this has a lot of great talent to it. Sofia Boutella, Demon Hansu, however you say his name. Charlie Hunnam's pretty good. Charlie Hunnam's a good actor. The main villain is the British douchebag from Deadpool. There was, who was it? It doesn't matter. Carrie Elway's had a brief cameo. It had Ray Fisher, which is not exactly a high point, but whatever. But those are all great actors, minus Fisher. They are all great actors, but they're not giving good performances because, again, Snyder has no idea how to direct actors, and the dialogue and just the rest of the script they're given is awful. This is one of the worst scripts I've seen this year, and that says a lot, because we've gotten a lot of shitty writing this year. But not just the story, because the story is just a beat-by-beat ripoff of Star Wars, with some minor differences that ended up ripping off a Bug's Life. Was that intentional? Probably not, but honestly, I can't say for sure. Because it's the exact same plot. Someone leaves their colony to go find warriors to help fight back against the evil Empire, which is basically Hopper and the other grasshoppers. How do you rip off a Bug's Life? Okay, you know, I'm getting off topic here. And like I said, the effects are bad, the action sequences are boring because it's all slow-motion bullshit. The final battle is atrocious. I will say there was one kind of funny, unintentionally funny moment where Fisher's character is like doing the big, where he jumps up to a ship with a spear and tries to stab the guy. The pilot actually dodges it and just kills him there. I think that would have been a lot funnier had he just killed him and that was that. But no, he ends up killing the pilot anyway and blowing up the ship by basically driving it into the, or flying it into the, platform, so that was kind of a waste. I think they should have just left it as unintentionally funny instead of trying to make it some big heroic moment and just falling flat on its face. The fight between Boutella's character and the British douchebag is not very good. The choreography is hard to see, and there's some unintentionally funny moments, like when she, of course, hits the dude in the dick, because that joke hasn't been overused at all, and it's trying to be, in a serious fight, you shouldn't have somebody hitting the other person in the crotch, because that's not going to help you be taken seriously. And again, there's a non-ending to this, because it's a two-parter, because of course it is, where the British guy basically talks to Palpatine, who was basically the adoptive father of Boutella's character for a while, because she was basically in the Imperial Army, which kind of rips off Solo as well. But he talks to the guy who's basically Palpatine, who stands around, has some weird magical powers that aren't explained, and does nothing throughout the entire film, and probably won't do much until the end of the second movie. So, yay. I'm trying to think, oh yeah, another scene that was padding it out was the scene with the Beast Tamer. Like I mentioned the bad CGI. That scene goes on for an insanely long time. Like, he flies around, like, again, probably another ripoff, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, where he flies around on, Buckbeak. It's very similar, the shot composition is the same, it's the same kind of looking creature, and even ends kind of the same way. Man, I did not think I'd be struggling to rant about how bad a Zack Snyder movie is, because I've already made a couple videos on Snyder's Justice League, and I plan to make more on that at some point. I've been planning to do that for years, but I haven't, because that movie's so awful. I could make 5 videos talking about BVS, I could make a couple talking about Man of Steel. I probably should make one on Watchmen at some point, but that's a for another day, or Legends of Ga'Hoole, or Legend of the Guardians, Owls of Ga'Hoole. I still don't understand how that's a Zack Snyder movie, but I'm getting off topic because I'm just trying to, I'm basically padding at the video at this point. Don't watch this movie. Obviously, do not watch this movie. Don't let them get the full franchise. Just end it at part 2 and just be done with this crap. I'm giving Rebel Moon Part 1 a Child of Fire an F. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.